So, what are we talking about today? Why am I here?
We were learning about liquid and flight, I think.
I bet it had something to do with fluid dynamics, which is the study of the motion of air or a fluid over an object or past an object or around an object. I wonder if it had anything to do with what makes an airplane fly. Show of hands, how many of you have been in an airliner before? Okay, cool. So at least you have some frame of reference, as we call when we start talking about aviation. So I have the privilege of teaching young people to fly airplanes for a living. I flew an airplane when I was 8 years old. 8! And it changed my life. For the rest of my life, I knew what I wanted to do. So from age 8 until I turned really 15, I was trying to figure out how to get in the air. And eventually, if you say it enough times and you're diligent about it, somebody takes notice and they go, "Oh, you want to fly?" I said, "Yeah, I fly anything." So at age 15, I got to fly airplanes with my own two hands. And throughout high school, I spent a lot of time, I would polish airplanes, push airplanes, clean airplanes, wash airplanes, and then go fly them and do the same thing over again. And I found out that flying changes your life. And I went on to the Air Force Academy. I went off to the Air Force Academy, graduated, went to pilot training in Oklahoma, and then left the United States for 13 years. I lived in Germany, then all the way on the other side of the planet in Okinawa, Japan, and then from there back to England, and then came back to the United States. And we moved here in 2006 from a little place in Florida, and I retired in place in 2012. But I've had one of those lives that people just look at and go, "Wow, you're so lucky." Was it luck? I saw Blossom shaking her head. Why?
It's hard work.
What, Ryan?
Support as well.
I did have a lot of people. That's very good. I did have a lot of people that helped Alex Carothers become who Alex Carothers is today. You're absolutely right. I had a lot of teachers, and I had a 6'4" father and a 5'2" mother at home. My mother was the taskmaster. She was the one, yeah. I wanted to talk about airplanes real quick today because this is a STEM camp, right? And are airplanes science, technology, engineering, and math? Do you think there's any science, technology, engineering, and math in airplanes?
Yeah.
Why, Tazzy? Why do you say yes so enthusiastically?
Because I don't know, because like there's math whenever you have to fly a plane, because like you have to figure out all these buttons and stuff.
Well, fortunately, there's math behind the buttons, but I don't have to do a whole lot of math to figure out which button to push. But yes, there is math, but I'm not doing calculus while I'm flying an airplane, okay? I'm not doing Laplace transforms and all this fancy stuff, but I am doing 2 + 2, plus 2 minus 2. I'm doing 2 times 2. Sometimes I'm doing 10 times something, and a lot of times I'm doing 60 times something, but not a lot of math. And oh, you've got all these fancy things nowadays. You all in your fancy digital cockpits with graphics and touch screens. No, my touch screen was a big knob right in the middle that I had to turn a whole bunch of times to get the clock to work. Now I'm just looking at a digital screen, having some fun. Let's see if this works. I'm going to put up a picture of what some of my guys were doing this weekend. So this is called an avian. It is an old World War II airplane that one of our friends here out in Moriarty has refurbished. And those young men in there are 14, 15, and 16 years old. And they've been flying since they were 8 together. They've been growing up together as part of our Tuskegee Airmen program. Here's the fun part. I can take you flying at age 8. As soon as you're training the young people in the art of noting that they need to pay attention to gear down. I can take you flying at age 8. As soon as Kofageddon is over. Okay, there's something called the Experimental Aircraft Association. And we take young people age 8 to 17 flying. And here's the part your parents are going to love. It's free. Did I say that loud enough? It's free. Come fly for free. A bunch of volunteers out of Double Eagle Airport. Until COVID hit, we were flying 7 times a year. So the next one is supposed to be in August. So we're crossing our fingers that we're going to get to do that. Okay. And then we have an aviation and space camp that we run. And we're doing a virtual camp this year, but we also take you flying on that one. And we launch rockets and high altitude balloons, and you actually spend 10 hours on a simulator. I'll show you that here in a second, where you learn how to fly and then you go do it in the real world. Yes, lots of fun. Everybody see that okay? What is that? This are 2 of the first type of an airplane that had ever been built. My last job, I was the initial cadre on this airplane. One of those planes actually has my name on it because we got to sign it when they were building it. This is an MC-130J, a very special airplane. They're actually coming up on 10 years old here in 2022. So we're still building them, but these 2, they're the first ones. And we got to actually spend time with this. Is what an airplane looks like before you paint it. This is what it looks like when they're building it. I point this out because not everybody gets to fly an airplane. You maybe have a physical limitation or whatever, but you can work in the aviation industry, the aerospace industry. We pay people a lot of money to build these planes because they have to build them well so that when I'm flying them, they don't fall out of the sky, and that's no fun. Software engineers, people that work with their hands with metal and rivets and all kinds of stuff, people that like to work with glue. If you've never seen an airplane in bits and pieces, it's just kind of weird because you just get on a 737 and you think, it's all together. This is what it looks like when they're not put together yet. And this is what the airplane looks like when it's all finished. It's pretty. You get to go in flight. This is right here in Albuquerque. We flew the first ones here. This is where the schoolhouse is. This is where I teach. And that's not my favorite picture of it, but there it is. What is that?
Is it a simulator?
It is a simulator. Very good. What were you going to say, Ryan?
Same thing, simulator.
Same thing. That's what it looks like on the outside. This thing weighs 32,000 pounds. This is what it looks like on the inside.
Whoa.
Whoa. That's what I say every time I get to go and play in my $18 million video game. I can shoot at you in here. I can set engines on fire. And all the time you're bouncing around and moving and doing all this stuff. It's a good time. Yep, Lego Master, you got it. Yes, it bounces, but you got to go sideways at the same time, up and down. Okay, we teach them how to land without any lights. We teach them how to go up and get gas from another airplane, and then they go down and they pass that gas to helicopters. And we spend almost 150 hours in the simulator, and then we send them to the real airplane. They fly the simulator more than they fly the real plane. Why? Are there things that we could practice in here that you wouldn't want to do in the airplane? Yeah, like set things on fire. Fire on airplanes is no fun. I've been on fire in an airplane. It's no fun. It's just a couple more pictures of what the airplane looks like. A life in aviation lets you see some of the most amazing things. Beautiful skies, hopefully, different airplanes flying, and different parts of the world as well. So when we start talking about what makes an airplane fly, there's a dance that goes along with the 4 forces of flight. But the first question that I always ask is what makes an aircraft fly? And what's the answer? Because you should already know it if you know the dance.
Aerodynamics.
Hydraulics. The airflow.
Thrust.
Thrust is one. Okay. What was this?
The weight.
Weight's another one. So you got thrust and weight.
Drag.
Drag is the third one, right? And we talked about airflow produces the fourth one.
The lift.
Lift. So you got the 4 forces of flight: thrust, lift, weight, and drag. But is saying that telling you why an aircraft flies?
No.
Why not?
Because there's other things to it.
There's other things to it. there's a relationship between those four forces, right?
Well, yeah.
Which two forces are good and which two forces are bad if you're trying to fly?
The two forces that are good is thrust and lift.
Thrust and lift. And then the bad ones?
Drag and weight.
Drag and weight. Yeah. So when someone asks you what makes an aircraft fly, it's the victory of thrust and lift over weight and drag. That is lesson 1 of aviation, of flying. Okay, time for questions.
But what's the most dangerous thing that you ever flew into?
Well, there were some bullets. That's kind of dangerous. But you mean natural phenomenon? Things out there in the world? I had to resupply some folks that were trapped in a forest fire in Thailand. I think that was probably the worst because there was so much smoke and ash in the air. We were worried about the engines getting coked with stuff that was going to choke the engines, and we were just going to become part of the fire. I flew my way out of a typhoon in Okinawa, Japan. A typhoon is a hurricane in the Pacific, and my airplane flies at 150, 200 miles per hour. Well, the winds were already doing 55 and 60, almost 70 miles an hour when we actually had to try and get the airplane out of there. So that was kind of sporty because the runway is wet, stuff's blowing sideways, and so's the plane. Any other questions?
I wanted to know how to get to your flight program.
Applications for the camps open on our website on the 1st of February every year. And then we close them about mid-May. So we have 30 slots for each camp. Anyone else?
How did they come up with the plane designs?
How do we come up with a plane's design? Purpose of the airplane really determines what it looks like and what the design has. Do you want it to go fast? Do you want it to be able to land slowly? What do you want it to carry? How high do you want it to go? Do we want it to go into space? Is it a helicopter? Okay. If we want it to go fast, it has swept wings. If we want it to go slow, it has big, straight wings. We talked about drag. If you're going fast, the faster you go, the more drag you get. So you have to be very careful. That broke up a lot of airplanes in the early days. Some planes would go so fast that their wings whipped off or the propellers broke up. Okay. What do you want it to carry? The one you're seeing, that gray airplane with the WP on the tail, that's an F-16. That's a fighter. It goes 1.5 times the speed of sound. You can go up to 60,000 feet and carries one person and bombs. That's actually a two-seater. Okay. You don't want to take that one on a cross to England trip where you're spending 10 hours, okay? That's a little seat. That's no fun. You'd rather take the one on the left. It's an airliner with and bathrooms. And then we have to ask, what environment is it going to go into? So what do you want to do with the airplane determines a lot of its design. Okay? And then there's safety. We always design safety into airplanes. That one in the left-hand corner is a Cirrus SR-22. It's got a parachute. The plane has a parachute. So if the engine dies, because it only has one, you can pop a parachute.
Did you name your airplane?
Most airplanes earn their own name. Some of the planes have great names. Most of them describe their personality. So I used to fly one called the Rambler. The Rambler took me all over the Pacific. Okay? I used to take the Rambler, leave Okinawa, Japan, and come back 35 days later having seen 9 countries. The one that has my name on it, 0109, she's called the Journey because it was one of the 2 test aircraft. Her sister is called the Destination.
Can you get knocked out by the G-force?
The F-16 that's on your screen is in the upper left-hand corner with the Whiskey Papa on it. That thing will pull 9 times the force of gravity. So what that means to you is that in your head is a bunch of blood, right? We'll say for math's sake, it weighs 10 pounds. So at 9 Gs, it actually weighs 90 pounds. So all that blood that's in your head goes to your feet. Your heart can't keep it up there. And if there's no blood in your head, how long are you going to stay awake?
For like 30 seconds.
Oh, no, not even close. You're done. Bye-bye. Yeah, you're out. G-induced loss of consciousness, G-LOC. So Ryan, to answer your question, yes, you can knock yourself out, but you train hard before you even get a chance to fly the airplane to do that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Sorry we couldn't do this in person.
We appreciate your time as always.
No worries.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.